Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, and I believe that the right book at the right time can change lives, and that all readers should read children's literature, especially adults. So, that's what we do here on the Kid Lit Love podcast. We celebrate all things children's literature: picture books, early readers, middle grade, and young adult novels for readers of all ages. In each episode, we'll talk with children's literature authors and discuss their books, their hopes, their dreams for readers, their writing process, and much, much more. Whether you're an adult reading to their inner child or connecting the young readers in your life with fantastic books, you've come to the right place. So grab a notebook to build your TBR, and let's get to today's episode of Kid Lit Love. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Kid Lit Love podcast. I'm Stephanie Affinito, your Kid Lit Loving host, inviting you back to another bookish conversation with a children's literature author. Today, I'm talking with not one, but two authors, Susan Rose and Silvia Lopez. Susan and Silvia are the authors of the Jose and El Perro series, a bilingual adventure series that shines a spotlight on rescue dogs and encourages young readers to create special moments of their own to celebrate the ones they love. In their newest release, Happy Birthday, Jose and FELIZ, Jose realizes that his best furry friend needs a birthday celebration, and the book showcases his journey to giving FELIZ the celebration he deserves. It's full of love, of laughter, and celebration, and I can't wait to talk to both of them about it, so we're going to get right to the episode. Susan, Silvia, welcome to Kid Lit Love. I'm so glad you're both here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie.
So this is such a charming book. And as I mentioned before we hit record, you are talking to an ultimate dog lover who has 5 dogs of her own, who has rescue dogs. So I can't think of, selfishly, I will say, I can't think of a more perfect children's literature podcast host for you to talk to today about this book. So I am very excited to talk with you both. But before we jump into the book, I'd love to give each of you the opportunity to say hello to listeners, give us a bit about you, and hopefully we'll talk about the way that you two became connected for this series as well.
Yeah. I'm Susan Rose. I started my career as a theater producer. I was lucky enough when I was young to produce the Broadway show Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. That was in my 20s, and that's what helped me move to New York, which was my ultimate dream my whole life. And I was lucky enough after that to produce a series of other successful shows. Have been doing it now, I guess, God, it's embarrassing to say how many years, but a long time. And then I segued into producing film, television movies, because I love to read. And I would oftentimes find great books that fell under the radar that I thought would make great movies, and especially ones that focused on women. So I've done a number that have focused on women. Judy Davis and Sally Field starred in one. I also did a book called Jack by A.M. Holmes that Stockard Channing starred in. That one won an Emmy. And so my whole life, I've loved doing things that are storytelling. And I always had this idea. I'll tell you how the whole Jose series started, or came to be, the book series, because I love dogs. I've always had dogs. And I would have to drive back and forth to New York City for work. And I would leave my dog, Brady, with my Latino pet sitter and her little boy, Jose. And I would pick the dog up at the end of the day and I would joke, wow, I'm sure this dog's bilingual. I mean, dogs have the ability to learn up to 180 words, which I've learned, and which is almost as much as an 18-month-old toddler. And I would joke, I'm sure they speak Spanish all day long, and he's going to definitely know Spanish. So I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful since children are sponges, and that's really the time that they learn language, another language. Wouldn't it be great if we created a story where a young boy adopts a dog from a shelter, brings the dog home. The dog doesn't understand one thing he's saying because he came from an English-speaking family, doesn't know a word of Spanish. So it would be really wonderful to create a story about that dog and his and Jose, his number one fan and friend. And the young reader would be learning Spanish along with the dog. So that's how the series started. I'm not a writer. I had the good fortune of meeting my co-author, Silvia Lopez, almost, I'd say 4 years ago when I moved to Miami. And so the rest is history. And we've written now 3 Jose books, and we have a 4th standalone coming along. So that's my story.
I love it. I love it. That really is the most perfect segue, the most perfect inspiration behind the book. I love when there's a real life something we can pinpoint to bring it to life, because those books just have that kind of energy in them when it's
Yeah.
transferred to the reader. You can feel it. You can feel
Yes.
that. So I love knowing that backstory. Leah,
Yes.
let me turn it over to you. Give us a bit about you and your work.
Yes, thank you. My name is Silvia Lopez, and I am a Cuban American. I came to the United States when I was 10 years old, and I did not speak one word of English at the time. I learned everything here. I liked English so much. I read through practically every book in the library that I could get my hands on in the children's section. They actually got to know me. And I finished with all the Spanish books, and then I started in on the English as soon as I could. And I liked English so much that I grew up to become an English major in college. And I thought that I was going to teach English in high school. But circumstances being what they were, I ended up working in an elementary school library. And I mean, libraries were just natural to me.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, forget that English high school teacher job. I'm going to become a librarian. And so I got my master's in library science, went on to get more stuff with technology and national board certification and all this stuff. And basically, I spent 37 years in schools. Um, Practically 35 of those in the library, in children's libraries. As a children's librarian, I also worked in the public library as children's librarian. So basically, I have spent my entire life surrounded by books and kids.
Hmm.
And so when it came time for me to retire, I said, well, let me see what I know best. Well, all right, I know children and I know the books they read. And you have to read the books before you push them on a child. You know, before you recommend anything, you have to have read it, because the first question they will ask is, did you read it?
Yes, and they
It,
know.
it never fails, and they know. And they know. Plus, I just read for pleasure. And so I said, well, I have many stories floating around in my head because I had always been very imaginative. I doodled with stories when I was younger and did all kinds of things with make believe. And I said, okay, I'm going to start putting my stories on paper and try to get published. And it worked. It worked. And so far, I have, in the past 10 or 11 years when I began, I have published about 20 books. 4 of those have been with Susan, 3, and then 1 coming up and next year. And I just keep going. I like the bunny, you know, I just keep going and going. And I love children's literature. I respect children's literature because it doesn't always get the respect and the admiration and its place in literature. It doesn't always. So I try to push it as much as possible for people who are not familiar with good children's literature and writing for children.
Yeah.
So I run a critique group here in Miami for picture books. Most of my books are bilingual. I have all kinds of different genres, I guess you could call them. I have biographies, nonfiction, fiction, easy readers, and my favorite, which are folktale retellings. Those are my favorite. So that's me. And right now we're working, Susan and I had the great fortune of being contacted. We had a mutual friend who, I guess Susan asked, well, I'm not bilingual. And I'd like to write something about a dog that becomes bilingual and understands both languages. Who can you think of? And that mutual friend thought of me, and the rest is history because we have been working together, like Susan said, about 4 years, and we're still going. We work together very, very well. We respect each other's opinions. We bounce ideas and thoughts off of each other very well with the understanding that each of us has our ideas and preferences, but we're going to respect that and we're going to fine tune those to make the best story that we can. So the Jose series, I have Jose and El Perro back here, and I have Jose and Feliz play football. And that was the second one, and the one coming up today that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So we're that's me.
That's you. I love it. I love it. As a fellow educator, I spent a while teaching little people how to read. I now teach teachers how to teach little people how to read. And I think the greatest career, one could have is sharing books with kids when they need them most at this phase of their life, whether you're writing them or illustrating them or, dealing them and pushing them out, as quickly as you can. There's just nothing quite so magical, I don't think, than the right book that finds the right child at the right time. And this series, oh gosh, this series just has the potential to meet so many readers at different entry points, at different interests and different possibilities and different ideas. I'd love to know before we jump into the newest book in the series, how did the two of you decide what is book one and what the topic, football for book two, and then happy birthday celebrations for book three? I'd love to know how that comes to be in the working relationship that you have.
Well, the first book, Jose and El Perro, um, definitely had to introduce Jose to Feliz because that's the first book. It's a I think each of these books has to be a standalone. So even if you haven't read the first two, when you get to the third, you'll definitely understand the concept and the relationship between Jose and Feliz. So the first book came to be because we needed to introduce Jose to the dog that he was going to adopt. And he adopts a dog from the shelter. And the reason he picks Feliz is because he's always smiling. And so that's how Feliz gets his name, because Feliz means happy in Spanish. And then because we chose the name Feliz, there were so many different word plays we thought we might be able to introduce in future books. For instance, our newest book is called Happy Birthday, Jose and Feliz. And when you sing the happy birthday song in Spanish, that's Feliz Cumpleaños. So I always thought that naming the dog Feliz would have so many additional story possibilities.
Mhm.
Um, the second book came to be Jose and Feliz Play Football because I actually had a dog that played soccer. Football in Spanish means soccer. And I actually had a dog that would love to push that ball around with his nose, with his head, with his paws. And because football is such a big sport with children today, I thought that would be a great way to introduce or have him have a story with Felice in the second book. So
Yeah.
that's really how the books came to be. I also love the fact that the main character is a boy because there's so many books out today that are for girls. And there's so few books that really have a main character that's a boy. So there's so many children that love this book because boys can relate, and
Mhm.
especially boys that have dogs of their own.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. There are so many readers, and whether it's true or not, there does seem to be the stereotype of boys being more reluctant to read, and having books at all levels and all genres and all age groups that feature, the more that we can read books that feature us, that act as a mirror, the more that we can get sucked into those books. And then, of course, we have books that then are windows to languages, to all sorts of things. Your book is definitely both, and is just ideal for the reader looking for some delight and some fun. And book two, even though we're not talking about it, is pretty timely for right now when the
Yes,
podcast is being
it
World
released.
sure
Cup.
is. It sure
Yeah.
is. I also wanted to add that what you just said about children seeing themselves in books, you know, if you look at Jose's family, everybody has a different shade of skin, everybody has a different hair color. I think children need to see themselves and their own families and their own situations in books, in the illustrations and the words that are there for them. For decades, it wasn't that way. It was very, very homogeneous, and everybody looked the same. Everybody was blonde. It was the American, it was the American stereotype, which really doesn't even exist because we're a nation of so many different people, it's beautiful. That is the reality that makes it gorgeous and wonderful. And so in our books, we have multi-generational. We have an abuela in there in the third book. We have the parents who speak English and as well as Spanish. We have a coach named Coach Flores, which happens to be my son-in-law's name, and he is a soccer coach and a high school PE teacher as well as a soccer coach. So we're trying to have our books reflect different segments of the reality of our society in the United States so that everybody can see themselves in our books. They can find something in our books that reflect their own reality. Most importantly, we're trying to foster this idea of adopting pets. There's such a need, and also having a boy with the best friend, and that idea comes up all the time in all the books. His best friend is Feliz, and Feliz's best friend is Jose. He waits for him behind the window every day, and the book says, and my best friend is home. That's what Feliz says. So the other thing too about our books, they're very happy. The title of our third book, Happy Birthday, Jose and Feliz, has the word happy in it. But even though the other two does not have the word happy, the illustrations that Gloria Felix came up with, they show the joy of the relationship between this young boy and his pet. And there is such a bond, and there's a lot of happiness and a lot of bonding and a lot of give and take in our books. And that is what we want them to have. We want children to pick up this book and smile and say, oh, I know that, or I'd like to know that. I like to be like that because they're all positive.
Yeah.
So those are all things that we have been striving for in our books, and I think they do come through.
Oh, it comes through. It definitely comes through. The delight comes through, the joy comes through, the fun comes through, the family comes through, the love comes through. And I'm so glad you brought up those illustrations because the colors, the brightness, you see the energy and the emotion on the page, both in the humans and the furry friends, which is quite the feat. It really is such an experience. And the fun is when Jose is, trying to figure out when is this birthday? How can, this is my best friend. How can my best friend celebrate a birthday as well when we don't know what the birthday is? And so I learned in this book, and I have some rescue dogs, but I did not know about Dogust. The
Yes.
1st of August, that
Yes.
could typically be, a birthday celebrated for rescue dogs. So that was just
Yeah, so many people have rescue dogs and don't know their birthday.
yeah.
And unfortunately, that's an unfortunate thing. So when we did research for the book, we found out too, because I had no idea there was a universal birthday for dogs created actually by an animal shelter on Long Island. that came up with Dogist, which is August 1st, the universal birthday for all shelter dogs. And I think that's a wonderful thing because then you have a real birthday for the dog that you adopted. In the case of Jose, that wasn't good enough because he didn't want to share his birthday with all those shelter dogs. He wanted Feliz to have his real birthday and his own birthday. So it's very interesting how he solves that problem. If you want me to discuss it, I can, unless the reader wants to buy the book and find out.
They need to buy the book and find out. I don't want to
Okay,
reveal that because it's the most
Yeah.
beautiful part of the book. So we're going to keep
okay.
that as a spoiler and they have to buy it and find out.
The other thing about the book is, which Sylvia and I really wanted to include, was the fact that once they do establish when Feliz's birthday is and they have a birthday party, we created a recipe in the back of the book for pupcakes, which are cupcakes for dogs. So it's a really fun activity once you read the book to be able to go back and actually make pupcakes for your dogs. And I'm going to be at a bakery in New York, Boris and Horton, on July 11th, and she's actually going to make the cupcakes and have children come in and decorate the cupcakes. And we're going to read the book aloud. So that's happening July 11th, New York, Boris and Horton. The time is 9:30, and we should be there from 9:30 to around noon if you want to stop by.
Perfect way to celebrate the book with those cupcakes. I'm so glad you mentioned the recipe in the back. I think my personal favorite part of the book, of the illustrations, was because I have a dog named Coco who has a rather unhealthy obsession with tennis balls. And so when I saw the tennis ball pinata, I thought, "Oh goodness, that is what my dog would love." My youngest son actually went and got a bunch of used tennis balls, put them in, just a big garbage bag and brought the dog into the room and just let, the 50 to 75 tennis balls go just to see what would happen. And it's just like you said, it's fun, it's joyful.
It's actually a soccer ball pinata because he's a
Oh,
soccer playing dog. I
oh,
hope
I
that
guess, see, my
reads.
my dog mind went tennis balls, tennis
Oh,
balls.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is actually a soccer ball pinata because Felice is the football loving
Right.
dog.
You're right.
And that's what they got for him and his furry
But
friend.
there's no reason why when the piñata breaks open, they could be tennis balls. They could be any kind of ball that comes out because the dogs that are at the party, well, we don't want to spoil but the dogs that are at the party are going crazy with these balls flying all over the place,
They are.
just like yours, just like yours. I also wanted to say that in the book, the way that Jose comes up with a solution to his problem, it is an adult problem because it's very hard for a child to do research on a dog that he has adopted as to where it came from. He does, he tries, but it's an adult type of situation. And with the help of his abuela, he does come up with a solution for his friend.
Yeah.
And we're very much aware of the fact that children's books have to have a conflict that the main character resolves. And Jose tries his best to resolve this problem. He doesn't know when his dog's birthday is, and he can't seem to be able to find out. So he goes around it and finds another solution.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things that make the book special, that this little boy is tenacious enough to continue to search for a way to celebrate his best friend's birthday. I also wanted to say before I forget, the books are completely bilingual
Mhm.
because we want the children to learn words in Spanish, but we don't want to hammer the words in Spanish, and we don't want to pound them into their heads. So we introduce the words in the text as part of the text. It's code switching, in which the word is introduced and it is either repeated or brought into the next sentence, or the character says the word again in English. In a couple of times in some of the books, they can just be the illustration that tells you about the book. We do have a glossary in the back of every book with all the words in Spanish and the English counterparts. But this is a simple and painless way for children to learn these new words. They're very simple words and they have to do with the story, so you will see them. But they are all also explained. They're not in there gratuitously. They're not put in there, well, let's put this word in Spanish. They're in there because they're part of the story, but then they're also introduced in English or also repeated in English, or the text explains it. So I just wanted you to know that that it serves the purpose of introducing children to words in a different language, but in a nice way, in a good way. It's not a Spanish teaching book. It just brings them in, and the kids will be able to identify them very easily as part of the story.
It's perfect for English speaking children and bilingual families,
Mhm.
both. Um, and I think it's a great way to introduce a new language, as Sylvia said, to a child because it's done in a fun way.
Yeah. With a sense of story that is just delightful. That
That's right.
stories are what connect us and unite us and that we remember, and it's just so seamless within the story. Now, as you think about this third book of yours going out into the world, what is both of yours hopes for the book or for readers who get the book in their hands?
I love all three of our books, but this happens to be my favorite because I think it really exemplifies or really shows the bond between Jose and his dog. It's so personal because he sits around with his immediate family and he considers his dog part of his immediate family. And he realizes that everyone in his family has a birthday, but his dog, his best friend, his family member doesn't. And I think that's why this is probably my favorite book because it really shows the love, as Sylvia has already said, and you have said, between a boy and his dog. And I think when anybody adopts a pet, they're lifelong friends. They're part of your family, and this really shows uh, that love between the two of them.
Mhm.
So I hope people will maybe go out and celebrate birthdays with their adopted dogs.
Oh, they will.
Enough people don't do that. I mean, we celebrate our dog's birthday. He's not adopted. We happen to know his birthday. And I have so many pictures where I've gone out and bought my dog a birthday hat and given him special treats and toys. It's really just a fun way to celebrate your love and your life with your best furry friend.
Just makes life better.
Yes, it does.
Definitely.
I just wanted to tell you, at the end of the first book, I think it sums up everything. In the first book, Jose tries to teach. He makes up his mind that he's going to make his dog bilingual, just like his family. So he begins, and you can read the book and you can see how he will say the words in both languages until the dog gets it right, gets the command right in both languages, which is a little bit how we teach languages too to children. Um, but in the end, he says, "I love you lots." When they're going to sleep, he tells his friend, he tells Feliz, "I love you lots." And I like how we ended it with, Feliz didn't need for him to repeat that. He knew what the words meant. And I think that sets the tone for the whole series. There is a true bond between these two guys, this dog and this human. There is a true bond. And I just love to see that. I love to see that. I think it teaches children kindness. It teaches them compassion, responsibility for something that depends completely on them. You know, our pets, they depend on us completely for food, for shelter, for well-being. And I think Jose exemplifies that. And so we're thinking about this third book that we're going to be talking about in a minute, and it has to do with cumpleaños, with birthdays. So I'm thinking of a gimmick of like we do with the second one with the soccer video, which we'll talk about. But I'm thinking of, we're gonna have the children sing cumpleaños feliz in Spanish. I have to find some really good YouTube video that everybody's singing along. So these are fun. They are happy books. They're filled with joy. Gloria has done a beautiful job of the illustrations, and we can't wait for our third one here to go out into the world and find children that will love these books as much as we do.
So this book is just going out into the world, but it is not the end of your collaboration. I've heard you say that there is another book coming. Can you give us a sneak peek into that before we close the episode?
Sure. This one came about because my granddaughter's favorite color is pink. And I think a lot of girls' favorite color is pink.
Yes.
So I said to Sylvia, we could, introduce colors to children and we could introduce them through birds. So the idea being that the abuela, the grandmother, and her two grandchildren, and they're named after my two grandchildren, actually want to see birds come to their backyard. So the abuela says, "Great, we're going to build a few bird feeders and we'll see what birds come." And so you're going to learn about the birds that are migratory birds to Florida, and they're going to watch the birds, and the reader will learn about the birds and also learn the colors in Spanish. But the problem is, there's no pink birds that come to the backyard. So the abuela has to figure out how she can get Maya to see some pink birds. And I'm not going to give that away because that's the big reveal of the story. But it's a great way for kids to learn about birds, to learn colors in Spanish, to have a fun activity with their grandmother, because we actually, in the back of the book, show you how to build a bird feeder. It has all those things. I'm really excited about it. It is a picture book. It's not in an easy reader like the Jose series. It's not in chapters. It's a real picture book. So that was a learning curve for me because I'm not really a children's book writer, but now I am. But I never wrote a picture book before. So Sylvia and I worked, well, she's written picture books. So together, we created this book, and it's called Where Are All the Pink Pajaros? Where Are All the Pink Birds?
Right. And we have been fortunate to have Nomar Perez, who has done it because we have seen the advances you saw. But he has done such a beautiful job with the colors, with the birds, and again, with a human bond. In this case, the human bond is the two grandchildren with the abuela, with the grandmother. There's no dog involved in this book, only birds. But Nomar has done a beautiful job of the illustrations. And like Susan said, this is not the small format of the easy readers, which are, that they're usually like that, and the controlled vocabulary. This is a picture book. This is a standalone, so it's larger format. The pictures are gorgeous. We like the story. It's very warm, and again, full of happiness, full of joy. These children are just enjoying this pink bird quest. So,
And there's also a lot of back matter in the book, which Sylvia and I worked
yes,
very hard on. So the children will really learn about the different types of birds that are migratory to Florida. And if you love birds, it's a great way to introduce your children to birds.
It
right.
sounds delightful. It sounds
And again, not only to the birds, but to the colors in Spanish. Simple way. And they are repeated just like we did with the other books. They are repeated in the context. If he sees a blue jay, he sees a pájaro azul. So it's all there. So they don't have to go looking in the back to figure out what the words mean. They can afterwards if they want to reinforce, but it's all done in the text and in the illustrations by Nomad, which are, again, I can't say enough about them. They're lovely. So we're really excited. This book is coming out. Where Are the Pink Pájaros is coming out in the spring of 2027. So we can't wait for that one.
Neither can I. My goodness, what a beautiful collaboration of books the two of you have together. They're really special. They're really wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we love working together, which is, I think, an unusual thing. I mean,
We
because I
do.
think it's hard to co-author, as Sylvia said earlier. But this is a true collaboration, and we really work off of each other's strengths. So it's really been a great team effort. We love it.
There's
Yeah.
also a lot of respect, Stephanie. There's a lot of respect for each other's opinions. There's a lot of give and take, flexibility. You know, I might not agree, she might not agree, but we come to a consensus. And
Yeah.
usually the consensus works very well.
Yeah.
So yes, we're having a good time with this collaboration.
So is your reader.
Yes,
So is your
I
reader.
hope
I
so.
hope
We
so.
hope so.
I hope so.
Where is the best place to find both of you online in case readers want to connect with you or dive into your backlist or just keep up to date on what's coming next from the both of you?
Well, I have two websites. One is for my production company, which is susanroseproductions.com. And that also has a link to my author site, which is susanroseauthor.com.
And
Okay.
I have a website. It's SilviaLopezBooks.com. And I have everything on there. I have all my books on there. And I have links to where they can be found, where they can be purchased. I particularly like bookshop.org
Mhm.
because I mean they're on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and local stores as well. We have a wonderful store here called Books and Books, and it's they carry all our books. And but bookshop.org online because they give a portion of the purchase to independent bookstores.
Yeah.
So I love to buy from them. And so they can be found just about anywhere. On my website, we also have printouts, coloring printouts of the books. We have them done by Gloria Felix. She did print out sheets so the children could color. So when we present to a school and we locally, when we go visit a school, we hand out crayons and we hand out printouts so that the children can color. I have done activities with writing and so the books are everywhere. They really can be found everywhere, and they have gotten excellent reviews. I'm very happy to say that we have gotten excellent reviews on our books. And
Can I just say the first one
yeah,
actually was chosen by the New York Public Library in 2023 as one of the best children's books for that year, which is
yeah.
a thrilling thing to have happen. Um, I also wanted to mention that I'm going to be at an event in New York in addition to the bakery called Broadway Barks. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, Stephanie, but it's
Wow.
in its 23rd year. It's put on by Bernadette Peters, who loves shelter dogs, and she brings, I would say, over 20 shelters into Schubert Alley, which is the stretch of street between 44th and 45th Street. And it's done on July 11th between matinees. So it's a really wonderful event. People have the opportunity to come and look and choose a shelter dog. They don't go home with the shelter dog that day, but they choose the dog and then make arrangements to come get the dog. And all these Broadway performers participate. They're going to have the cast of Cats this year and
Wow.
Andrew Reynolds. Yeah, it's
Yes.
going to be a big event. And so they've agreed to let me participate because I'm a Broadway producer and also because the book is all about this wonderful shelter dog. So that's exciting.
That is exciting. That
Yeah,
is. Oh,
yeah,
well, it sounds like you've got a lot of fun buzz going around and very
yeah.
deserved for the books. And I wish you both the best on the launch. I'm so grateful and thankful that you came onto the podcast today, and
Thank you.
I will be on the lookout for what's coming next for sure. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you for
so much,
having us,
Stephanie.
Stephanie.
Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
And listen,
Bye.
thank you for listening to another episode of Kidlit Love, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Kid Lit Love podcast. You'll find links to all of the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. You'll also find Kid Lit Love on Substack. That's where you'll find posts for each episode, monthly Kid Lit roundups, and an invitation to join my summer book club and go deeper into the world of children's literature. And if you loved this podcast and want more, you might like to listen to my other podcast called Get Literate. It's a podcast that explores all things books and reading, notebooks and writing to build a life you love. One more thing. If you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish community of Kid Lit Love. Thanks for listening.